I was looking to consider doing this as part of a News at Night segment, which would have gotten a lot of ratings, but I figured, one, I get enough views doing this as a standalone video, and second, I'm not big with celebrity news, but in this case, I'm going to have to make an exception, particularly on analyzing the cucking, the public cucking of Will Smith, and my particular theory on it. Now, all of you have probably seen the Will and Jada Smith, or Jada Smith's red pill or red table talk or something like that. I could have sworn the red table talk. Maybe she stole it from Angry Man's red pill table. I don't know. Maybe she's watching the Manosphere getting ideas. I don't know, but it was her red table. Apparently, that's a table where she has real talk and has all these celebrities on, and a lot of it's just a bunch of daggledom in disguise, including this, well, especially this, with how she basically had her husband admit to him being cucked. Now, I know it looked like he stood on his own and made Jada admit to the entanglement between her and August Alicina, I don't know how to pronounce his name. August. I'm just calling him August. And apparently, August was a family friend, particularly a family friend of their son, Jaden Smith. So that's how they met, by the way. And I know they were stating something along the lines of, well, I met August and he was sick and needed help. Well, first of all, right there you have shades of Tupac, which we all know the history between Jada and Tupac, which, from my understanding, didn't Jada friend zone Tupac? Wasn't friend zone Tupac the reason why Tupac became Tupac and subsequently led him to his death? So nobody wants to talk about that, huh? But yeah, we won't even get into that part. But during the red pill or red table talk, apparently Will and Jada agreed to a separation when the entanglement occurred. So that itself isn't the problem because it was mutually agreed upon. The marriage was on the rocks. Both parties were seemingly seeing other people. Obviously, there are rumors with Will Smith with other actresses. But in Jada's case, it seems like her choices, I guess she got with a big celebrity. I'm not sure. I don't care. But that's when the entanglement occurred. And apparently, August Alsina leaked the news a few weeks ago, which made the two come out and admit to this. Now, people are saying that August is seeking clout and hype for a new album, which I don't know why he would do this in order to push the hype for the new album, because, quite frankly, Will Smith, despite the fact that he looked cuck in this red table talk, Will Smith has huge clout in Hollywood. Huge clout to the point where he can make someone or break someone. And something like this definitely would put the whistleblower in a position to be broken to the point of being blacklisted in all portions of the entertainment industry. And what August did a few weeks ago, yeah, you will not be hearing his album drop unless it's on some half-ass website or on SoundCloud or something like that. And even then, it's not going to blow up like it should have or maybe would have, given that he didn't do this. If he would have just kept his mouth shut and just moved on after Jada admitting to basically cutting him off, then he may have just said, hey, look, just give me a little favor, throw this album your husband's way, something. I don't know. All I know is Jaden Smith and August Alsina will not be playing 2K21 or Fortnite season whatever on PlayStation 5. But here's what I'm going to say as far as this is concerned. This was delicately timed. Everything, or most things, happen for a reason. Do you think this was leaked out at this point in the year or at this point in history for ships and giggles? Absolutely not. This, in my theory, is a hit piece on black men. This is a blatant hit piece on clean-cut black men. And I'm not trying to make the divide and debate of the street cats versus the thinking black men. No, that isn't the case. We have to tell this like it is. We have been seeing a lot of spotlight as of late, particularly all black men in general. But the United States, if you don't know, has been protesting. I mean, the protests have been getting light, but I am expecting at least one more incident which will flare this up all over again, whether it's another shooting, another police brutality case, Or the counter protests that are heating up. It seems like the Back to Blue protests are really starting to show their colors and really strut around and flaunt and floss. And there have already been some conflicts between Back to Blue and Black Lives Matter protesters, so we'll probably cover that this week in News at Night. But one of those things are going to really set this country ablaze for the summer. In any case, you have to consider how prominent Will Smith is and what he symbolizes. Will Smith has been one of the very few black male actors and entertainers, and just few black men in general, who has been able to transcend race, especially in the 1990s. You see, the 1990s, I know a lot of people say that, well, you had the crack era and the post-crack era, and that's when all the bull crap started. Yes, that's when all the gangsta bull crap started to show its face. And the subsequent 2000s is when it really started to get out of hand and just overtake the thinking black male image. But in the early 90s, and we can take it back to the 80s for that matter, we had black men who were able to transcend race due to whatever reason, and as a result of that, they were seen not as blacks in parts of America, and especially overseas, but they were seen as Americans. They were seen as men. And subsequently, that helped the image of black men, particularly black American men, especially overseas. And in this case, through his hits and his movies, we're able to capture the world stage audience and really put a positive light on an image for a race and a group of men that desperately needed it. Well, granted, there was the 60s with civil rights, but obviously we saw the rise of the welfare state and the Cool Breeze image that America was really trying to push out to the world. But thankfully we had the likes of Will Smith, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Prince, and other figures who had a semblance of black masculinity or black charisma without the Negro stereotypes. I'm going to analyze this in a future video, how that 80s and 90s period was the best period for black men for this reason. Will Smith being one of the major images of positive black male masculinity is the reason why black men came up in the 80s and 90s. And right now, black men are getting a lot of unintentional positive, or at the very least sympathy press, albeit in negative circumstances with George Floyd and all the other incidents that have been happening. Now, throughout the country, you have BLM protests, and I'll be honest, it's 50-50 when it comes to people who are genuine about it versus those who have their own leftist Marxist agenda. However, throughout the world, a lot of them aren't aware too much of the BLM organization and what it's trying to push. So when a lot of people overseas, especially in non-Anglo countries, are marching Black Lives Matter, then you know they to some extent give a damn about black men. Not the community, but the treatment of black men. And maybe some of the innocent black women who were wrongfully shot as well. But nonetheless, the world is seeing black men in a non-negative light. And there are entities within the United States who despise that over anything else, because there are certain entities within America who think that they own the world, and that whenever they land in a particular country that they should just bow to them, not even because they're Americans, but because they're of a certain pigmentation. And granted, right now, no one in America is traveling anywhere thanks to the beer flu and how we're handling it. But the powers that be are really trying to damage control the positive image of black men. And if they can't make him into the negative stereotype that they've been playing for the past 25 to 35 years with the gangsta rap and the welfare state baby's kids, who in reality are just soldiers of the negative image, the Maggles, the Daggles, you know the usual suspects. They will do their best to make the black man look like a cuck. And this is what they did with Will Smith, and specifically Jada Smith and August Alsina. And I'm not sure if August Alsina was in this specifically. I don't think he's smart enough to do that, but Jada definitely saw this as an opportunity to counter any positive image that black men are gaining via sympathy or anything else. Look, Not all women of a certain ethnicity, by the way, so that is the preface of this. But the daggle specifically is the right hand of supremacy. I mean, I'm not the kind of person who really says that supremacy is to blame for everything that's wrong with Black America. But when I notice it, I have to call it that Scraggle Daggle is the right hand of supremacy. And this was a blatant example of just that. See, the American mainstream media can't just let the positive black male image occur. Another 1980s, 1990s era positive images of black men, or just images of black masculinity without the stereotype, would all but negate the advantages certain others have above black men, particularly when it comes to the image. And the United States' biggest import at this point, or export I should say, is not anything tangible per se, but it's media. You want to see an example of how this works in real life? Look at Asian countries, for example. You have places like Japan and the Philippines and Thailand and even Vietnam who have positive images of black men, but places like Korea and the mainland China, it's sort of the opposite. You have to look at when these groups were exposed to black men. One group was exposed to them pre-welfare state around wartime or just after wartime around the 60s, and the other group who just got online and the view of the world in the past 20 to 30 years, well, look at what kind of black men they've seen. And now I'll answer your question right there, but we'll analyze that in a future video. We can't have that 1980s, 1990s, early 90s positive image of black men just blasting throughout the world and just for everyone to see, because that's just going to make America look like a jackass. I mean, how can you justify police brutality and racial discrimination against a group of men who have been nothing but positive, or have nothing but positive images? That's the main reason why you have Asians and other mono minorities being treated well in this country. Yeah, part of it is economics, but a part of it is the reputation. So, with that being stated, that's my theory on this. I'll analyze this more in the future video. Everyone else out there, always bet on X.